is changing as far as that goes. We're still working on percents and simple interest this week. Before we get started, I have a few announcements. I'm going to go over those announcements with you all first, and then we will get started with our warm-up and our GED practice question. Hopefully everybody knows, of course, already that today and Tuesday are the only days of classes this week. You are off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. So we only have classes for math today. Okay. And we will be back next week, Monday, for the last day of November. It'll also begin our last week of new information, potentially. I'm pretty sure that we won't be introducing anything, and then the following week will hopefully just be for review, but we'll see. It might be one more thing that I want trying to get in, but I think we'll just have next week, the week after next as a review. Okay. Make sure that you are checking out the homeroom class for weekly announcements. And let me know if you have any questions about anything that's posted there. You can always reach out to Mr. Thomas and Miss Marissa Bell as well. On-site support will only be held today for this week, right? Because Wednesday we are off. So Monday to November 23rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. you can go in if you are having some issues with your computer or any other device that has been issued to you from AOH. The final day for this such support is going to be next week, Wednesday. So next week is the last week, and Wednesday of next week is going to be the last week for that on-site support. If you have any questions about your schedule or need any other kind of help or anything like that, you can still continue to call the number that I'm going to put in the chat. Make sure you're dialing 202-289-6623, and you are putting in extension 128. Make sure you leave your name, your phone number, and your reason for calling, and calls are usually returned within 24 to 48 hours. Always check your AOH emails regularly for any updates. Trivia for this week will be posted tomorrow. Congratulations to last week's winners, who are Amber Gross-Gray and Arlene Hawkins. Okay, so those are all the announcements for this week. Let's go ahead and get started. All right,
Mr. G, excuse me.
Yes, Jules, go ahead.
You still the number is for what? I don't know what you say.
Sure, I put it in the chat, but it is 202.
Yeah, I got it. I got a number, but I'm asking. The number is for what?
Oh, if you have questions about your schedule or basically any other questions that I haven't been able to help you with, that's the number that you can call.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So going over interest, simple interest, and all of those things, let's go ahead and look at this question that I have here. Remember that for simple interest problems, you're going to use that equation. I is equal to PRT. So if Giorgio borrows $100 for 1 year and 3 months and repays $108, including simple interest, what rate of interest was he charged? So what do I need to do to figure that out?
I think for me, the first thing is to figure out what is the principal, what is the interest, and what is the time.
Good. Okay, so how do we do all of that?
Okay. The principal is 100.
Good. We know that the principal is 100, right? Because that's what it says. It says here that he borrows $100. So that's how much he's starting off with. So absolutely, his principal is going to be $100. Okay.
But now the interest. Interest is the 108 minus 100. That's
good. So yeah, so that's right. So it's $8, right? That's his interest.
But now the time is 1 year and 3 months. That means 1.3.
Not exactly. So 1 year and 3 months wouldn't be 1.3. How many months are in a year?
12.
12. So it's 1 and 3/12, or 1 and 1/4. So it's 1.25, not 1.3.
That's why I didn't. Okay, I was confused. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we just have to convert the months into years. Remember that there's 12 months in the year. So we're going to use that fraction. That's going to be the safest thing to do, so turn it into a fraction. And that 3/12 can be reduced to 1/4, which can be reduced to 0.25. So it's 1.25. So we have our principal, which is 100, our interest, which is 8, and our time, which is 1.25. So we need to find the rate. So we're going to use this equation, but we're going to rearrange it, right, by dividing out the PT. So our rate is equal to the interest divided by the P times the T. So that's what we're going to put in to get our rate. So it's going to be 8 divided by 100 times 1.25. What's that going to give us?
0.064.
Okay, good. And when we turn it into a percent, we're going to get letter A as our answer, right? Good. So our answer, so let me just do our steps here. We're going to get, if I do 100 times 1.25, it's just going to give me 125, right? So, sorry, I have to find my mouse. Where did my mouse go? Okay. So we have R is equal to 8 divided by 125, because 100 times 1.25 is just 125. This is going to give me 0.064, which when I turn that into a percent, it's 6.4%, which is letter A. Very good. Okay, let's try another example. Doing the same idea. So it says Amy invested $500 in a savings account that pays a fixed, simple interest rate. After 3 years, her account balance is $550.50. What percent annual interest rate did her bank pay? So we're going to do the exact same steps. I'll give you guys a minute to try to work on that on your own, and then I'll ask you all how you did it. Okay, so Amy invested $500 in a savings account that pays fixed simple interest rate. After 3 years, her account balance is $552.50. So what percent annual interest did her bank pay? So what's the principal in this case?
500.
All right, so her principal is going to be the 500 that she invested. What's the interest?
The interest is 52.5.
Good. So it's 52.50. Very good. We're going to just, the way that we find that is we take the balance, we subtract the principal. We're going to get 52.50 for the interest. Excellent. All right. And the time is
3 years.
3 years, right? Good. So we don't have to do any conversions there, but we do have to convert this normal equation for interest into the equation for rate, because that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to find the rate. So R is equal to I over PT. So we can put that in. R is equal to I, which is 52.50 divided by the principal times the time. Okay, so it's going to be 52.50 divided by 1,500, which when I put that into my calculator, it's going to give me what?
0.025.
Good, 0.035, right? It's going to give me 0.035, which when I turn that into a percent by moving it 2 places to the right, I'm going to get 3.5%, which again is letter A. Right. So we're going to wrap up our simple interest notes now. So we started our simple interest notes last week, Wednesday. We're going to finish them today. So we'll be done with our simple interest notes after today. And then we're going to look at practice number 2 to make sure practice number 2 is clear on how to finish it. And then if we have more time, we'll try to do some of the other practices before I release you all for the week. So we'll see how much time we have left. All right, so let's get to work. We're going to go into our notes. All right, so I'm going to go into Schoology. All right, so make sure that you're in the level 5 course with Mr. G. Go to week 9. And you want to find your simple interest formula notes. So that's under practice number 2. It should say simple interest formula notes. That's what we're working on. You should see there's a video already up for it. I'm going to open it with Cami, the PDF, so that we can scroll down to the last page. We're on the last page, page 3. That's where we're going to pick up where we left off there. On that last page, page 3. All right, let's do it. We are looking at the main course page. We're going to fill out the missing pieces in this chart using, of course, our formula here. Right. I is equal to PRT. That's the formula that we're using to figure out the empty slots, right? So they are using Wachovia Bank. So Jack Jones has a principal of $2,455. His rate is 3%. How long is it going to take him to earn $441.90 in interest? So we have all that information. I'm going to put it onto a blank sheet so that we can work it out. All right, so we have our formula. I is equal to PRT. But of course, we're not trying to figure out the interest, the I. So we're going to rearrange it because we actually want to figure out the time, the T. So we're going to divide out the P and the R. That leaves us with just T. So T is equal to I divided by P and R. All right. Our P is equal to 2,455. Our T is equal to 3 years, I believe. No, we're trying to find our T, excuse me. Our rate is equal to 3%. We're trying to find our T. Our rate is equal to 3%. And our interest is equal to $441.90. So we take all that information and we put it into this equation so that we can find our T. So T is equal to $441.90 divided by 2,455 times 0.03. Because remember, I always turn my percents into decimals before I calculate. I'm going to calculate my denominator first by doing 2,455 times 0.03. So I'm going to get T is equal to $441.90 divided by 73.65. And when I put that into my calculator, $441.90 divided by 73.65, I'm going to get 6. So my answer is 6 years. All right. Again, the first step is always to rearrange your simple interest formula for the variable that you're looking for. In this case, I'm looking for the T. So I want to get rid of the P and the R. So T is equal to I divided by PR. Make sure I have all the information that I have from my sheet, my P, my R, my I. Make sure I convert my percent to a decimal. And then I just plug everything into my equation. So I put the interest, I divide it by the principal times the rate. I multiply my principal times my rate first. then do this division, and I end up with 6 years. All right, let's go back to the sheet. So I've put in my 6 years into the table. All right, then we're going to look here at Oscar. So Oscar had a rate of 4.25%. And after 3 years at that rate, he earned $663 in interest. What was his principal? Okay, so I'm going to put all that information again onto a blank sheet so that I can figure out his principal. All right, that's my normal formula, but I'm trying to find the principal. So I want to isolate it. So I'm going to divide away the R and the T. Whatever I do to one side of my equation, I must do to the other side. So P is actually equal to I divided by RT. Okay, my rate is 4.25%. When I turn that into a decimal, I'm going to get 0.0425. My time is 3 years. And my interest is $663. So now I need to figure out what my principal was. So I'm going to plug all those numbers into that equation. So I'm going to say P is equal to 663 divided by 0.0425 times 3. So I'm going to put that multiplication into my calculator first separately. So 0.0425 times 3. It's going to give me 0.1275. So my principal is equal to 663 divided by 0.1275. When I put that into my calculator, 663 divided by 0.1275, my principal is going to be $5,200. That's how much money he started with in order to earn all that interest. All right, any questions about this calculation?
No.
All right, let's go back to Cami to look at our table. So I filled in the $5,200 here. Now we're going to look at the last one, Paula Prince. Paula had a principal of $18,500. After 42 months, she earned $1,940.50. So what is the rate? Okay, so now we have to figure out her rate. So again, I'm just going to put that onto a blank sheet so we can do the math. We start with our simple interest formula. This time we're looking for the rate. So I'm going to divide away the P and the T. So that rate is equal to I divided by PT. My principal is $18,500. The time is 42 months. So I can't use 42 months in my calculation, right? I can only use years. So what do I do when I have 42 months?
Simplify.
Okay, so
I'm going to divide 12 into 42.
Very good. Yeah, I'm going to divide 12 into 42. So I'm going to do 42 divided by 12, which is going to give me what?
3.5.
You said 3.5, Mr. G.
Yeah, good. Which is 3.5. And then my interest is $1,942.50. Okay, so I'm going to use 3.5 as my time, 18,500 as my principal, and 1,942.50 as my interest. I'm going to put that into that calculator, into this formula here. So R is equal to 1,942.50 divided by 18,500 times 3.5. I'm going to do that calculation first. So 3.5 times 18,500. So that's going to give me R is equal to 1,942.50 divided by 64,750. And now I'm going to put that into my calculator. 1,942.50 divided by 64,750. That's going to give me a rate of 0.03, which when I turn into a percent is going to be 3%. All right, let's go back to our Kami so we can finish those last two questions, number 6 and 7, and make sure we put, of course, that information into the table. So we know it's 3% for Paula, so we're going to put it into our table there as 3%. Now we have these last two word problems to wrap up these notes, and then we can go and start doing some of these practices. So number 6 says a deposit of $2,500 grew to $3,325 after 6 years. What is the final value of a deposit of $7,500 at the same interest rate for the same period of time? So the first thing I have to figure out is what is, well, not the first thing, but what the question is asking me is to figure out the interest rate, right? I need to figure out what is my R, okay? And I have to figure out what is my R based on this information with this as my principal, right? My principal is 2,500. And my time is 6 years. I am missing, though, my interest. I have it, but I just have to figure it out. So what is my interest? How do I figure it out?
Take away.
So I need to do 3325 minus 2,500. That's going to give me my interest. 3325 minus 2,500. How much is that?
It's going to leave 825, I think.
Good. Yes. That is $825. So that's my interest, $825. So now I can use that information to find the rate. That's the first part, because once I find the rate, then I need to apply it to this amount of money. But I have to find the rate first. I have to use this information to find the rate. And the rate is going to be equal to the interest divided by the principal times the time. So my rate is equal to 825 divided by 2,500 times 6. So what is that rate?
It's 825 over 1. So it's 0.05. And then
5.
5.5%.
So 0.055, and when we turn it into a percent, it's going to be 5.5%. Okay, so we're going to now use this rate, though, to figure out how much interest you're going to earn, or well, actually what the final value is. We have to do principal plus interest on a deposit of $7,500. So our principal is $7,500. Our rate is what we just figured out, 0.055. Our time is 6 years. So we have to find the interest and then use that to find the balance. And our balance, of course, is our principal plus our interest. Okay, so we have to go back to our regular formula, I equals PRT, and put all that information in to get the interest. So I is equal to 7,500 times the rate, 0.055, times 6 years. So what's the interest for that?
Outside the weather is good, huh?
Huh?
Outside the weather looks good.
Yes.
1,575.
For this interest, so we did 0.055 times 6 times 7,500.
Yeah.
So when I did that, I got 2475. As the
7,500 times 0.035 times 6.
7,500 times 0.055 times 6.
Oh, 5,500. Oh Lord, I did 3,500.
Okay.
Yes, 2,475.
Okay. So that's my interest. And now to get the principal, I have to take the to get the balance, I have to take my interest and add it to my principal. So I have to do 2475 plus 7,500. So what's my balance?
$9,975.
9,975 is my balance. Yes. So this was a 3-step problem.
That one we get done.
Okay. I had to find the rate,
Maths.
find the interest, and then find the balance.
Balance is how much?
9,975. That's the last answer.
I don't think I get this one though, Mr. G.
Where messed you up?
It's so, from the start, from all of that coming from the front, comes straight back down to this is a whole lot of math.
Yes, it is. So let's look through the problem again. It says a deposit of $2,500 grew to $3,325 after 6 years. All right. So right here, we know that we're going to have to be calculating some sort of interest, right? Because we have growth over a period of time, right? The next part, it says, what is the final value of a deposit of $7,500 at the same interest rate for the same period of time? So right here, we know that we now have at least 2 parts to this problem, because 1, it doesn't give us the interest rate. And then 2, it wants us to use a different principal to find the interest. Okay, so we have at least 2 parts to the question. In order to figure out the interest rate, I have to figure out how much interest I have. So I have to do a couple calculations here. I have to do my subtraction, which I did first, right? And now that I have the interest rate, I use that to find, and now that I have the interest, I use that to find the interest rate by putting it into this formula. R is equal to I divided by PT. Once I found that rate, because it says, what is the final value of a deposit of $7,500 at the same interest rate? I know that I have to use that interest rate again and the same period of time which I used before, which was 6, to figure out the interest on this new amount. So that's what I did. I put it into my formula, I equals PRT, 7,500 times the rate times 6 years to get my interest of 2475. But the question wasn't the interest, but what was the final value of a deposit? And whenever it says final value or balance or anything like that, I know that I have to take the principal and add it to the interest. So I have my 2475 and I have to add it to the 7,500. And that's how I end up with the 9,975. Right. Any other clarifying questions? Okay, let's try this last one, number 7. And then we're going to review some of the other things that we learned this week, and then we'll see how we are. Okay, if Sheila paid $797.50 in interest on a 5-year loan of $5,800 for her first car, what was the interest rate? So again, I'm looking for the interest rate, so I have to use that equation.
Only 797.50. Our rate is.
So we're looking for the rate. So what's our interest?
Well, the time is 5 years.
Yeah, the time is 5 years. Good. Our interest is right here, right? $797.50. That's our interest. And what's our principal?
Right here. Oh, Lord.
Our interest, our principal is $5,800, right?
Yes.
So all we have to do is put all those numbers into that equation and then tell me what you guys get. Put those 3 numbers into that equation.
Was it the interest 797.50? Shouldn't that?
That's what it says, right? She paid $797.50 in interest.
Oh. That's where I'm getting it wrong. So basically, you have to pay attention to the write out.
Absolutely.
Oh, Lord. For instance, interest not equal to.
2.75%.
Good. So the rate is $797.50 divided by 5,800 times 5, which is going to give me $797.50 over 29,000, which when I do my division is going to give me 0.0275, which as Jules says is 2.75.
So Mr. G, because I can't get the bottom part of this. 58 times 5.
It's 5,800 times 5. Yep.
Which would give me 79750 over 29000.
29,000, right? And when I put that into my calculator, 797.50 divided by 29,000, that's how I get the 0.0275.
2.75%.
And then I turn that into my percent, 2.75%.
So it's interest time.
Interest divided by principal times time to get your rate. Yep, your rate is equal to interest divided by principal times time.
Also, the loan was actually 5,000 a year, but then when the interest go up on it, it comes to 797, right?
Okay? Okay. All right, we're going to look at practice 2 because there seem to be some problems with using our proportion system. So we're going to look at how to do that correctly, how to use proportions to solve for percents. And if we get through it, good. If we don't, you guys will hopefully get enough to finish it. And maybe we can even do something else. We'll see. All right, so let me clear all of this. I'm going to close this out, and then I'm going to open up. So from the week 9 folder, I'm just opening up practice number 2 on percents and proportions. This one uses proportions to solve percents. And so we're going to go over the proper way to do that because there was a couple issues there. All right, so this is a little reminder of how to use this. If it says of is the number always behind the word of, percent is the number with the percent sign, obviously, and is will be in front of the word is or behind the word is, right? But is the percent of the whole number that I'm looking for, and then I put percent over 100. So when I'm using this proportion, 100 will always be in this corner. The larger number or the number that I'm trying to find a percent of will be at the bottom on the left. And if I'm trying to find a different number, that might be an X, or the percent might be an X, or what have you. So we're going to work through this. It might take a couple times seeing it to see how it works, but we're going to try it out. So number 1 says, what number is 70% of 45? So in this case, I could use the straightforward way that I always use to solve for 45, right? But this is just trying to get you situated with how to use this proportion setup. This proportion setup you're not going to need to solve this problem, right? Because you can just do 0.7 times 45 to get the answer. But this is actually designed to help you understand how to use proportion so that you can use it to find other kinds of numbers. Because you're not always going to have to find 70% of 45, but figure out that 45 is 70% of what number, for instance, okay? So you might have to figure out a different way. This proportion setup will always work no matter what you're working with. So this is the idea here, is that we're gonna put it into this proportion setup. So let me set up my proportion. So it's always gonna be equal to something over 100, right? So 70%, since it is a percent, I'm putting it above the 100. So it's equal to 70 over 100, right? And what number is 70% of 45? So 45 is my whole number. So it goes on the bottom at the right. And then I have an X here to complete my proportion. I need to find out what number is 70% of 45. And the way that I do that is by setting up this proportion and cross multiplying. So I have 100 times X is equal to whatever 45 times 70 is, right? And I can just multiply 45 times 7 and bring the 0 down, right? That's 35, 3, so 2350. And now I just have to divide both sides by 100. So X is going to be equal to 23.5. Again, I didn't have to do that proportion setup to find this answer because I know that if I do 45 times 0.7, I'm going to get 23.5. But this is trying to teach you how to use proportion because you're going to need to use it later on. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in actually with my text box because I'm going to have to move my answer. So my answer is 23.5. I'm going to do the same thing with number 2. 23% of 75 is what number? This is the same question that was being asked up here, just in a different way, right? Again, I'm going to set up my proportion. 23% goes over my 100 of 75, right? So 75 needs to be my whole number at the bottom. And I'm trying to figure out what number is 23% of 75. I'm going to cross multiply and end up with 100x is equal to whatever 23 times 75 is. So I'm going to just do that over here, 75 times 23. 22, 10, 15, 5, this is a 0, sorry. 5, 2, 7, 1. So 1725. Divide both sides by 100. My answer is equal to 17.5, 17.25. Again, pull out my text box so that I can put x is equal to 17.25 in my answer. Okay. Now we get to where we actually need to start using the proportion. So in number 3, it's not asking you what is 90% of 45. It's asking you that 45 is what percent of 90. So if I set up my proportion, again, it's going to be equal to 100. It says 45 is what percent. So I don't know the percent. 45 is what percent of 90? So 90, because it's after the word of, 90 is my whole number. So it's here at the bottom. 45 is the number that I have. I'm trying to figure out what percent of 90 is 45, right? Some of you can look at this and know what your answer is. That's great. I already know what the answer is too. But if you don't, you use this proportion setup to find it out for you. You're going to cross multiply. 45 times 100 is very easy. It's 4,500. I wish that I could write better here. Sorry. 4,500 is equal to 90 times x. So that's 90x. To figure out the value of x, I have to divide both sides by 90. It's really simple if I just cancel out those matching zeros there. And I just have to do 9 into 450. 9 goes into 45 5 times. 9 goes into 0 0 times. So 45 is what percent of 90? It is 50% of 90. So this is why we use the proportion, because the proportion will always work to help us get these answers that might not be as straightforward. So we use the idea of the proportion. Okay. So I'm going to scroll back up so we can see these notes on how to use this proportion properly. I'm going to clear my drawings real quick. Okay, so again, when you see the word of goes at the bottom, right? The number that follows of is at the bottom. The number that follows is at the top, or is or before is at the top. And if it's with a percent, it goes above the 100. We use this proportion setup to help us find answers that are not just as straightforward as numbers 1 and 2, but kind of look more like number 3, where it says 45 is what percent of 90. In this case, I should be able to look at 45 and know that 45 is half of 90, but if you don't, we use the proportion setup to get that answer, right? What about number 4? What percent of 77 is the number 7? Well, I don't know. I'm going to use my proportion setup to figure it out. Okay, so what percent? I don't know the percent, so I'm going to put an X of 77, the number that follows of is at the bottom. The number that follows is at the top. So I do this setup. So 7 over 77 is equal to x over 100. I cross multiply. 7 times 100 is 700. And that's equal to 77 times x, which is 77x. I divide both sides by 77 to get my answer. So I'm just going to put that into my calculator because it's going to be much easier. 700 divided by 77 is going to give me x is equal to 9.0. Oh, yeah, 9.09. So my answer again is 9.09%. That's how that works. I'm going to have you guys try it without me and see how it works if you guys are understanding. 9.09%. Okay. So this one says 15 is 25% of what number? How would I set up my proportion? What do I write where? 15 is 25% of what number?
Okay, 25 is on top of 100.
Good, 25 on top of the 100, perfect. Where does the 15 go?
15 go on the denominator.
So 15 will go right here. Okay, the number before or after is goes on the top. All right, so 15 is 25% of what number? We don't know the number, so we put an X down here. Okay, and now we cross multiply. So 15 times 100 is going to give me 1500. X times 25 is going to give me 25x. To solve for x, I divide both sides by 25. All right, just got to figure out how many times 25 goes into 1500. Right, so it should be 60 times. 1500 divided by 25 should give me 60. So 15 is 25% of 60. And I figured that out in my head by doing how many times does 25 go into 100? It goes in 4 times, right? If I have 1500s, 15 times 4 is 60. So x is equal to 60. What we did for number 5, this setup right here is going to be the same setup for number 6. So set up number 6 exactly the way that I have number 5 set up right here. Let me highlight it for you. All right. So set it up exactly like this, but using the numbers in number 6, and then try to solve it and let me know what answer you get. So I'm just going to give you a minute to do it on your own, just to see if you can get it and try it, and then we can keep moving. Okay, were you able to set it up for number 6? Yes? No? Maybe?
Mr. G, I have 43 over x times 18 over 100.
43 over x is equal to 18 over 100. Perfect. That's the way it should be set up. Good. And now you have to cross multiply, right? So 43 times 100 is going to give you 4,300 is equal to 18x.
So 8, you have to divide by 18 by both sides.
Very good. So now you have 4,300 divided by 18. What's that answer going to be?
I got 38.88.
Okay.
Like 238. Would it be 0.9?
You can do 0.9 or you can do 0.89, either one. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, let's do the last page of this. What number is 75% of 125? All right, so this one is the straightforward one, right? Where we don't actually need to use the proportion. We can just do, we can use the proportion if you want to, or you can just do the 125 times 0.75. What are we going to get as the answer for that one?
Nine, 3, 7, 5.
93.75. 93.75. Good. All right, then we have number 8. It says 60 is, so because it says 60 is, I know it's 60 on top, is equal to what percent? So I don't know the percent of 25. Okay. 60 is what percent of 25? So that means I'm going to have 6,000 is equal to 25x, right? 60 times 100 is going to give me 6,000. Now I have to divide both sides by 25. So my x is equal to what? That's what you got, right? 240? Yes. That's what I heard.
Yes, Mr. J.
Okay, yeah, yep, that's right. 240. Good.
I was actually just using my head, not the calculator.
Good. Yeah, you can use your head for this one. This one is a pretty easy one to use your head for. We also just did 25 into 1500, which we just got as 40. 1500 times 4 gives you 6,000. So 40 times 60 times 40 times 4, excuse me, would be 240. Sorry. Anyway, I just messed it up. But anyway, yes, 240 is right. Okay, 39 is 150% of what number? So how do I set that up? 39 is 150% of what number?
So 39 would be over X.
Good. Is equal to 150 over 100.
It should equal to 3900 equal to 150 over 150. X cross out that. So 3900 divided by 150. Right.
Yep, 26 you said? Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. I didn't do it yet. Yep, 26.
26 times.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. What percent of 752 is 25?
152 is 25. What percent of 700? Oh Lord, this time we're trying to find the percentage. So it's 25 over 752 equal to X. 100 should equal to 2500. 2500 over 752. 752. 752 cross out, which should equal to. Why is my finger not taking? No, it's my phone not taking my finger.
Oh.
So it's 2500 divided by 752. So it's 3.32.
3.32.
Oh, 4 is less than 5. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Let's keep going. We'll do number 11. 95% of what number is 19?
So this would be 19 over X equal 95% over 100.
Good.
So that would be 1900 equals 19x. 19x, 19 divided by that. So 19, so 100.
No.
19 into that 1 times 0.
1900 divided by 95?
Oh Lord. Where did I leave that 95, Mr. G? I left the 95.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Jules. 20. Yeah. Good. Tashal got it. Tashal got the 20. Nice. All right, and let's try number 12. 0.5% of 490 is what number? So again, this one we can do just a straight multiplication, or you can use your percentage. Remember, you just have to turn that percent into a decimal. Right now, it's not a decimal, it's a percent. So make sure you move it 2 places to the left, right? So it's 0.005 times 490. Or you can do 0.5 over 100 is equal to x over 490. Either way, you can do it to get your answer. Good job, Tashelle. 2.45.
It's equal to 4. Mr. G, you will end up with 2 cross multiplication, right?
Mm-hmm.
495 times 0.5 would give me 247.5.
Would you do 490 times what?
5.
Times 0.5, okay? Gives you 245. Now you have to divide it by 100.
245, that's what I'm wondering where I went wrong.
So 490 times 0.5 gives you 245, right? And now you have to divide it by 100.
It didn't give me 240.
What'd you get?
It gave me 275.
490 times 0.5.
Right now, I don't know why, because it's 245. And then it would be divided by the 100.
Yeah.
Divided.
And that's how you get the 2.45. So you said you put in the 490 times 0.5?
I don't know what's wrong with my phone. I'm using my phone, Mr. G.
So try it again. Put in 490 times 0.5.
And I got it right this time.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay.
4990 times
0.5. Yep. Okay.
Doing its own thing this morning.
Got it. All right, let's try these word problems.
Oh Lord, let's go on the road.
Okay, number 13. In part because of the popularity of outlet malls, about 300 of the 1,800 traditional retail malls across the United States may close in the next few years. Find the percent of retail malls that may close. So how would we do that?
Go ahead, yeah. Oh my God.
We just have 300 divided by 1,800, right? 300 of the 1,800, because that's how we're going to get the percent, right? If we do it that way, okay? So we can set up the proportion. So 300 times 100 is going to give us 30,000, right? Which is equal to 1,800x. We divide both sides by 1,800. We'll get our answer here. 300 divided by 18.
15.66.
Good. Good. 16.67, we can say, we have to round it up, percent. Good. right? The other way to kind of look at it, sorry, I just made a unnecessary mark, right? The other way to do it, right? Whenever you're doing percents kind of like this, if I just take my 300 divided by my 1800, I would still get the same answer, right? 3 divided by 18 is going to give me the same answer, but it's going to give me that answer in a decimal, right? So to get the percent, I just have to change that decimal to a percent. So that's the other way to look at it too. Okay, just so you guys know. If you do it that way, make sure you multiply your answer by 100, right? To get the percent.
So that would be 3 divided by 18. Okay, times 100. Oh.
It's not 6 because it's not 18 divided by 3, right? It's 3 divided by 18. Now I was letting Tishel know. Tishel got 6. Okay. It's not 18 divided by 3. It's 3 divided by 18. That's how you get the 16.67. All right, let's try the next word problem. We're almost done with this practice. All right, number 14, the bee. The bee hummingbird is the smallest bird. It can weigh as little as 2 grams. The largest bird, the ostrich, can weigh as much as 150 kilograms. What percent of the weight of a bee hummingbird is the weight of an ostrich? So we need to put the weight of the ostrich on top and the weight of the bee hummingbird on the bottom. So ostrich, right, divided by hummingbird, just so we're clear, right? That's what we need to set up. But the other thing that we need to set up, we have kilograms and grams. So we have to decide if we're going to use kilograms or if we're going to use grams. I suggest we use grams, so we need to make the kilograms into grams. How do we do that? How many kilograms are in 1 gram?
No idea.
100.
Not 100, almost. One more zero.
1,000. Yeah.
1,000, 1,000. Okay. So what that means is that to turn kilograms into grams, right, you have to add 3 zeros. All right. So it's 150,000 grams over 2 grams. Okay, and then we're going to multiply that by 100 to get the percent. So 150,000 grams divided by 2 grams gives us 75,000. We're going to multiply that by 100, and it's a lot. It's 7,500,000%. That's how much bigger the ostrich is than the hummingbird. So those bee hummingbirds are super, super tiny. Those hummingbirds, their nests are the size of a thimble. That's how big their nests are, the size of a thimble. For those of you who sew, that's how big. Okay, let's try the next one. Again, we're going to be working with a lot of big numbers here. The US Postal Service handles, what number is that? Can anybody say that number for me?
170 billion.
Good. 170 billion pieces of mail each year. This is 40% of the world's total. So how many pieces of mail are sent each year?
So I need 60% more.
So there's 60% more, yeah. So 170 billion, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Forgot how many zeros I already wrote. Is only 40%. Okay. So this is the way to set up that proportion, right? So you have to take 170 million and multiply it by 100, which means just add 2 more zeros on. And then you have to divide it by 40. And that's going to tell you the number of mail, the amount of mail that's sent each year in total. So I'm going to take the 170 billion. I'm going to add 2 zeros. 1, 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Divide it by 40. And then my X is equal to this super large number.
425 billion.
Yeah, that. 4.25 times 10 to the 11. Or if we want to have it written out, it's 425. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 425 billion pieces of mail are sent every year. All right, so that just leaves for you all to complete numbers 16, 17, and 18 for your homework. So make sure you guys are finishing practice number 2 by 3 by 3 o'clock tomorrow. Okay. So you have until 3 o'clock tomorrow to finish practice number 2. Let me go back into the folder and see what else you guys need to do for this week, since we're done, right? So make sure you guys are doing, we just finished the simple interest formula notes. So make sure practice number 2 is done. And make sure your exit ticket is done, okay, by 3 o'clock tomorrow. The only other things that are in the folder to do are practices number 1 and 3, and that's just for you guys. If you have time and want to work on it, make sure you do work on it to get yourself to practice. But the things that must be done are practice number 2 and the exit ticket by 3 o'clock tomorrow. All right. So yes, make sure you've turned in the notes which we finished. We finished both set of notes already. So practice number 2 and the exit ticket. All right. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday and break. Stay safe. And yeah, that's it. Any questions for me?
No, that's good.
All right. I will see you all on Monday.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good one.